Welcome, my constant reader friends. I'm Tad, and this is Tad Reads Books and Stuff. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, thank you for checking out my videos. We're just going to do a little update today and talk about things that I did finish reading this past week. Real quick, Wrath, John Gwynne, The Faith and the Fallen. I've got about 160 pages left, so I should be finishing that soon. Probably by Wednesday, I'll probably have it done. So what my plan is, this of course is the fourth and final book in the Faith and Fallen series. You know, last week or a little bit more than a week ago, I did finish Ruin as well. So, and I haven't spoke about this yet, basically because the ending of this was so good, I just had to go right into Wrath and start with Wrath. So what I'm going to do is next week we'll talk about both of these books as well as the whole series, what I felt about the whole series. So that's what that's going to be. And you all know last week I talked a lot about Stranger Things. I watched this season, fourth season, up until, well, the new episodes are going to be coming soon in July. And so this season has been great. It's been awesome. I really loved it. So I went out and I got, well, I have a lot of Stranger Things stuff I showed you in my last video. But some of the newer things that I got last week was, of course, The Bully, Zombie Boys, and it says Tomb of Buen, and of course backwards it's Newbie. His last name Newbie, so it's the Tomb of Newbie, really. So I got those last week and I didn't have everything, so I went out after that video and got Erica the Great, and I got Science Camp, which I didn't have yet, and of course last week I got this too, Hawkins Horror. So I finished them all, came back, read them all real quick. Let me see, these smaller ones, Bully, Zombie Boys, and Erica the Great, they're I don't know what they're calling them now. They're younger than like YA, but really, I mean, there's some scary stuff in here. There, you know, for a kid, you know, geez, and like, well, probably they're saying like third grade, you know, and up to like 7th, 8th grade or whatever. But there's some scary stuff in here, and there's some good, you know, things that they talk about, like bullies and stuff like that. Zombie Boys was a movie that they made. And then of course Erica's becoming one of my favorite characters in the show. She is great. She gets her little girlfriends together to teach them Dungeons and Dragons, and they want unicorns in the game and stuff. They're all fun. So I read those three. They were great. Science Camp was really fun. Of course, this is when Dustin meets his little girlfriend at Science Camp, and she turns out to be very intelligent. If you've seen the show, you know. But this was pretty fun. It's, you know, kind of like the old Jason, Friday the 13th, you know, camp, scary horror. But that was good. And then this last one is really pulls at your heartstrings, because of course we know he's no longer with us, but it's when he was back in school, he actually started the AV classes, the audio video classes, and the new audio video teacher that is teaching, of course, the young Hawkins group knew him and were friends, and they go on this adventure to find this lost tomb that he set up. It really pulls at your heartstrings. That was pretty good too. I mean, I like it all. I'm just a Stranger Things fan. Doesn't matter, all ages. You can enjoy it. This here, Hawkins Horror, I finished that. This is a collection of terrifying tales. Well, it is. It's got 7 short stories and then like a beginning and an end little story. So let's just talk about this real quick. It's by Matthew Gilbert, and it was published just in May of this year, 2022. There's 200 pages in this book. You know, easy reading pages. They call it, what do they call it on the back here? It's for children. It says it's a children's collection of horrifying tales. But it is, what happens is the group, the kids that are still in Hawkins, not the ones in California now. So this takes place really kind of between season 3 and season 4. And so the kids in Hawkins get together at midnight. They have this midnight movie night at the family video store where, of course, Steve and Robin work. So they all go over there for this midnight movie. They put a scary movie on. Most of the times it ends up being Ghostbusters. So anyways, but when they get there, they want to get there, so they're racing, and of course Nancy has a car, so Nancy's driving them. And they get there, and the electricity goes out. Electricity, like, in the whole town goes out. So they go in there, and they're like, oh, we're not going to be able to watch a movie. What are we going to do? Well, let's sit down with a flashlight, shine it on our face, and you kind of go around a circle telling, you know, like the old campfire ghost stories. And they each tell a story. It's pretty interesting. Most of them center around the insane asylum in town. And so that does kind of go into season 4, if you've watched season 4. But they tell stories, these ghost stories, and some are better than others. They're pretty good, actually, though. I mean, it's fun. The good thing about all these, you know, the graphic novels, comic books, any of these other books, they all are important to this world that they've created. They all inform the story. So there are cool things going on in even these short stories that they're telling, and how they weave them together to tell basically a cohesive book. They all have something that relates to this universe. And even if it's from the, you know, a children's book all the way up to, you know, the more adult books that they have in this universe, they all add to each other's. As you know, from last week, I set this down here. I am currently still reading Rebel Robin. I just barely started it. I'm only, 60 pages into it. Again, another YA story, but it's Robin's origin story. Yeah, I love Robin. She's a great character in this show as well. But, you know, I barely started this, so we're going to continue reading that. That'll be done next week too. But what are we really here to talk about? Oh, I do want to say, I love watching these reaction videos. Have you watched any of these reaction videos, you know, for different shows? There's a couple out there for Stranger Things this last season, and most of them focus on where Max is at the cemetery at Billy's tombstone, and she's sitting there telling a story to Billy, who of course has passed away. And I don't know, you got to watch this reaction video. People are screaming and yelling at the TV. I really like that. But then there's people just bawling their eyes out. So what you should do is probably go to YouTube. Oh yeah, if you're watching me, you're already on YouTube. I know. Keep my daytime job. But go and look for these reaction videos. They're really, really awesome. especially the one, with the Max scene. But all right, so what are we really talking about today? I know I ramble on, I always do this. I just love talking about, the books and things I've read. But anyways, Before They're Hanged, Joe Abercrombie. I finished this, and I want to talk about it a little bit. I mean, let's be honest. This has been, well, let me see. It was published in the original, it was published, back in 2015. This one's like September 2015, so maybe even before that. I should look it up. It's probably in here. Anyways, I finished this. This is the second book, of course, in the First Law trilogy. Now, just for the numbers, published September 2015. This version here has 515 pages, and on Goodreads, it's got a 4.32 rating, which is good. Now, as you know, a lot of people gave me crap for this. I got them all here. So when I read The Blade itself, you all know I didn't like it. I didn't like it at all. My review is not good from that book. I was tempted not to read the rest of the trilogy. But so many booktubers, so many of you out there talk about this being one of your favorite fantasy series of all time. And I couldn't understand it. So I researched, I watched other people's videos. I went on Goodreads and read, reviews, and I was like, what am I missing that I really just didn't like that first book? The first book just really didn't do anything for me. I didn't see any reason to be vested in any of the characters. There was no real story arc going on. Even some of the videos that I watched about this series said that the first two books really aren't that good, but that the third book is amazing, and you've just got to get through the first two books and you're gonna love it. It's gonna be one of your favorite fantasy series of all time, and things like that. Now, I did listen to the first book, and nothing against the narrator. The narrator was great. As I've said, there's just a lot of continuity issues in there. The fighting, I thought, especially the rapier fighting, wasn't realistic at all to me. It is a hobby of mine. I do fight with a rapier. I should bring them out one of these times. And nothing that I was reading in there was anything like any tournaments that I've ever entered or ever fought in. And it just took me out of the story constantly. And then it jumped to another character, and it really didn't do anything. And then really the only redeeming value of the first book for me was Pharaoh. I loved Pharaoh. That character came in like in the middle of the book out of nowhere, and I really liked her. Well, about the last 100 pages of that first book, though, gave me enough feeling and enough reason to continue with the series. That, and of course, everybody freaking loves this series. So I decided I'm not going to listen to it. I'm going to read it physically, take my time with it, see if I can continue with this series. And I'm pleasantly surprised. I'm happy to tell you all, I really thought this book was awesome. I loved it. Totally different. The pacing, I think, changed a little bit. The writing was better. The storyline started to develop. There's actually 3 main storylines going in this book. The characters from the first book have now gotten into their little groups, and those are the 3 different stories being told in the book. I mean, you have Wes, his story. You have Nine Fingers, who was probably my second favorite character with Pharaoh, those two are together. So their story with Baez and everybody is another separate story, which is freaking awesome. I love those two together, and wink wink, they get together, which was another awesome part of the story. And then of course you have Glotka, and everyone talks about Glotka being their favorite character, and I see why. He does have this internal monologue that goes through all the time, and it's quite funny actually. And the character actually does some things to kind of redeem himself, you know, but very interesting. Every single story was advancing a total story arc now that now I'm invested in. The characters, I have to say that even though I really didn't like that first book, it does help you actually with the character development as it continues in the second book. And I can look back at the first book and say, wow, that, you know, now I understand it a little bit more. It is helping me. I still don't like it that much, but I can see it. Now, a lot of books, I talk about this a lot with my friends when we talk about books, and especially Star Wars, the movies. You have to have, you have a beginning, a middle, and an end. And usually the beginning is the build-up. You know, you start to meet people and learn about people. I think that's what they actually did in this whole book. This whole book is just basically the beginning, which sometimes can be the most boring part in a story. Let's be honest. If you're not going to info dump too much, which this basically doesn't, but it doesn't even do it enough, I don't think. It doesn't even build the world enough for me to be invested in the world or the characters in this book. But add it to this book and it's better. Maybe it could have been one book. I don't know. He did it the way he did it. It's fine. But I was going to go through here and just underline certain even sentences that I was like, this is so much better. In the first book, all he wanted to do was talk about shit and piss. It seemed, you know, and gore, but this, I mean, that's still in here a bit, but the storylines are starting to really come through, and I freaking loved it. If this informs this, I don't have enough hands, as much as this has now seemed to inform this, this is going to be awesome. And now I can't wait to read The Last Argument of Kings. But you're going to have to wait and see what I do, because next week I'm going to finish up, of course, Rebel Robin. I'm going to talk more about John Gwynne and that series. And then I'm going to talk about what I'm going to be reading in July. And you'll see. It's fun. But I don't know what I can say more about this that everyone who hasn't already read this and knows about this can say, except that it was, I don't know, it was almost like another person was writing this book for me when I was reading it. And as I was reading it, I was saying to myself, what happened? How did this become so good? So much better than the first book? I don't know. But now, I can't wait to start the third book. But it might have to wait a little bit here. Anyways, yeah, I loved it. Now it looks like I'm going to be a Joe Abercrombie fan. I didn't dislike the guy. I mean, I've seen videos with him, and he seems really, really cool. But I just really didn't like that first book. Anyways, so I'm done. I'm done talking about everything right now. Next week we will be talking about John Gwynn and Rebel Robin, of course. We'll get that finished. And of course, July. Ooh, the rest of the 4th season is coming out for Stranger Things. I can't wait to watch it. All right, everybody. I'm going to leave it here. I hope you all have a great day, and I will see you next week. Thank you. If you liked anything you saw, please subscribe. Oh, I need to give you an update. I'm over 100 subscribers. It's amazing. If you saw my last video, I started that morning with like 94 subscribers. Now I have, at the time of filming this, I have 104 subscribers. That is amazing. Thank you very much. Please continue to like my videos if you like them. If you don't like them. And please send me some comments because I love seeing the comments. All right, everybody. Have a good day. Peace out.